Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hujambo. Your Excellencies and honorable guest speakers, partners and visitors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Islamic economy shows a robust growth from different aspects with 1.8 billion Muslim consumers and expanding following the economic development of leading Muslim countries. The Islamic lifestyle market has been growing as halal food, Islamic tourism, and Islamic finance have become an important component of the global economy. Today's session will highlight the many aspects of Islamic economy. I am pleased to introduce the Honorable Peter Munya, Cabinet Secretary in the Kenyan Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries.
We want to discuss about Dubai Week in Africa and there's an opportunity between Kenya and UAE. Kenya has a lot of agriculture potential, and today UAE is looking at how we want to explore the relationship between the two countries moving forward. What is your take on this, sir?
Yes, Kenya is a leading agricultural country in this region, and we produce a lot of exports. We export horticulture, we export flowers, avocado, macadamia, and Middle East and Europe are some of our key destinations for exports. So this Dubai Week presents us an opportunity to work a partnership that is mutually beneficial between the UAE and Kenya in terms of market access, in terms of strengthening our bilateral relations so that we can continue strengthening our trade links between us and the UAE, and also be able to attract investments from investors from UAE and also even investors from Kenya. We are particularly very strong with our tea, which has found a niche in the Middle East, where we take our tea exports and we are able to transport them to various other markets in the Middle East. We are also doing quite well in terms of processed livestock products, where again complying with standards, and especially the Islamic standards of food that is called Halal. We are currently able to export our meat products, goats and lamb, and also cattle products that are processed locally here and sold in that region. We are also in the process of increasing our exports of live animals. We have set up facilities like Bachuma in the coast that is a quarantine facility that will help Kenya position itself and be able to prepare our livestock products to meet those standards, control diseases, meet the specifications that are required in the UAE, and therefore be able to increase and upscale our exports into that region. So we are seeing this as an opportunity, a partnership that can be strengthened, focusing on processing and products that we are able to provide here that are required in the UAE. And also, in return, the UAE people benefiting from those products, their traders opening up shops and outlets for those products, and at the same time coming to Kenya also to invest. Currently, government has passed a cabinet memo that is allowing idle government land to be leased out to private investors who may want to invest in food production. And I'm told in UAE there are a lot of investors who are interested in that space to access land and be able to produce for their markets, and therefore be able to sort out their food security access challenges. Therefore, this is really is a big opportunity, and we look forward to this participating in that week and also in the food festival that comes thereafter.
The last question, sir. The Kenyan government has a very good plan in terms of transforming this country, and you have the Big Four, and one of the key areas is food security and agriculture. What is your take in relationship with the UAE relationship?
Yes, I've just explained our food security pillar focuses on on mobilizing investments into the food production sector and availing, because we have a lot of land that is not utilized or underutilized, and given our reliance on smallholder farmers, we thought one way of accelerating and increasing our food production is opening up especially public land that is underutilized to investors who have resources and who would want to invest in that space. And the target is to have investors who would help us produce staples that we need, for example, maize, wheat, sugarcane, for us to be able to deal with food deficits that we usually experience and we are forced to import food. And secondly, also produce raw materials for our factory, our agro-processing factories, so that we can also meet our demand for example, animal feed that is currently quite expensive because we have to rely on importing raw materials. Therefore, that opportunity is available, and therefore investors from UAE and anywhere else in the world are encouraged to come to the country and be able to access land and be able to invest and support the country in its journey to meet its food needs and be food secure.
Your closing remarks?
My closing remark is to say that as the Ministry of Agriculture, we look forward to strengthening those ties between us and UAE in the agricultural space, in the trade space, in the commerce space, and we want to see how we can synergize. People who have resources who want to invest in the country are welcome, and of course Kenyan traders who are very strong, very resilient, very well experienced, to be also able to get opportunities to trade in the UAE and supply goods and services into the UAE market. Good. Shops and outlets for those products, and at the same time coming to Kenya also to invest. Currently, government has passed a cabinet memo that is allowing idle government land to be leased out to private investors who may want to invest in food production. And I'm told in UAE there are a lot of investors who are interested in that space to access land and be able to produce for their markets, and therefore be able to sort out their food security access challenges. Therefore, this is really is a big opportunity, and we look forward to this participating in that week and also in the food festival that comes thereafter.
The last question, sir. The Kenyan government has a very good plan in terms of transforming this country, and we have the big four, and one of the key areas is food security and agriculture. What is your take in relationship with the UAE relationship?
Yes, I've just explained our food security pillar focuses on mobilizing investments into the food production sector and availing, because we have a lot of land that is not utilized or underutilized, and given our reliance on smallholder farmers, we thought one way of accelerating and increasing our food production is opening up especially public land that is underutilized to investors who have resources and who would want to invest in that space. And the target is to have investors who would help us produce staples that we need, for example, maize, wheat, sugarcane, for us to be able to deal with food deficits that we usually experience and we are forced to import food. And secondly, also produce raw materials for our factory, our agro-processing factories, so that we can also meet our demand for example, animal feed that is currently quite expensive because we have to rely on importing raw materials. Therefore, that opportunity is available, and therefore investors from UAE and anywhere else in the world are encouraged to come to the country and be able to access land and be able to invest and support the country in its journey to meet its food needs and be food secure.
Your closing remarks?
My closing remark is to say that as the Ministry of Agriculture, we look forward to strengthening those ties between us and UAE in the agricultural space, in the trade space, in the commerce space, and we want to see how we can synergize. People who have resources who want to invest in the country are welcome, and of course Kenyan traders who are very strong, very resilient, very well experienced, to be also able to get opportunities to trade in the UAE and supply goods and services into the UAE market.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our next keynote speaker, Mr. Abdallah Mohammed Al-Awar, Chief Executive Officer of the Dubai Islamic Development Center.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Your Excellencies. At the outset, I wanted to thank Honorable Peter Munya, Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture in Kenya, and His Excellency Abdullah bin Mohammed Bilahir Naimi, Minister of Climate Change in the UAE, for their remarks. I wanted to also thank the organizers, UAE Trade Center and Dubai Consultancy, and our stakeholders, Dubai Economy, the Dubai Chamber, and others for their participation in the Dubai Week in Africa, which proved to be quite the interesting and successful platform that we have seen over the past few days. And what a better way to end the week than to focus on the Islamic economy sector. So with that being said, of course, it's my privilege to share with you some of my thoughts. First and foremost, I think it's encouraging to see that the Islamic economy sectors lately have made significant strides across the African continent. With Islamic finance and the halal products witnessing a very high uptake from the local African population and consumers. As you may know, we at the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center have been continuously supporting the publication called the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report that is issued by our colleagues at Dinar Standard, a global market intelligence firm that specializes in the Islamic economy. This report obviously assesses various Islamic economy sectors, but also provides an outlook of the growth of these sectors. And the 8th edition of this report was recently launched in November of 2020, of course, providing data on the sectors as far as 2019 is concerned, but also it provided an outlook of how 2020 would fare, which we all know has been quite a challenging year for the globe. It's also good to know that one of the launches actually happened in Africa, in Nigeria, specifically for the report, and we were glad to be part of that. It's also great to see that Africa this year specifically featured significantly in the Global Islamic Economy Indicator. The indicator is actually part of this report, but it measures jurisdictions around the world in terms of their capabilities to enable Islamic economy sectors to flourish. And it's good to see that Nigeria was in the top 15 countries of the Global Islamic Economy Indicator as a whole. Also, it was in the top 10 of the Islamic Finance Indicator. Meanwhile, South Africa ranked among the top 10 in the halal food sectors and the pharmaceutical and cosmetics sectors. So it's great to see that stride taking place among some of the nations in Africa. We also have noticed other progress as part of the development of the Islamic economy, particularly in Africa. We have seen, for example, modest fashion growing at a steady pace, with several small modest fashion brands already achieving promising growth. Interestingly, again, Nigeria has 5th largest Muslim population in the world that holds the potential to strongly address export opportunities for OIC countries from Africa. On the Islamic finance side, I was particularly also pleased to see that South Africa had made announcements earlier of a rand-denominated sukuk for the upcoming financial year 2020-2021. So they revealed their plans to issue sukuk, and I'll touch upon sukuk a bit later on. But of course, since we have seen those trends taking place, it's not surprising that Kenya also is yet another example of an African country with immense potential to lead the growth of the Islamic finance in sub-Saharan Africa, alongside Nigeria, South Africa, and Senegal. Despite the investment flux that the continent has witnessed in recent years, I believe there is still a substantial appetite for new investments among the key Islamic economy sectors. I believe if we put that in context of what has happened and what's transpired in 2020, specifically with regards to sukuk, I personally believe that sukuk do hold a lot of potential, especially when it comes to the post-COVID-19 recovery plan for a lot of nations. We have seen some countries already announcing plans to issue sukuk, particularly for this purpose, which is to help the recovery and assist the recovery of the nation's economies post-COVID-19. I've had the liberty, while their excellencies were also making their remarkable remarks and speeches, to take a look at the agenda today, and I've noticed that there is quite interesting panel sessions that are to follow, which I personally believe will, I hope, span across the sectors of the Islamic economy. I see some of our stakeholders here joining, some of our esteemed stakeholders joining in the panels. I wanted to let you know, Your Excellencies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that our philosophy in the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center is to work with stakeholders both in the private and public sectors. Some of our stakeholders today, such as the Chamber, such as the Emirates International Accreditation Center, are already working hard towards pushing that agenda of the global trade within the Islamic economy sectors. As a matter of fact, we feel that through the achievements being undertaken by these stakeholders, only further collaborations can be established with Africa. We are ready at the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center to always explore these opportunities, as we have done with a lot of other jurisdictions. And we believe that together with our stakeholders, we can unleash the true potential that the Islamic economy can offer. I think I will stop there, not to encroach on other my esteemed colleagues and peers' time. I wanted to thank you all for your attendance today and participation, and I wish you the best of luck in the sessions to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Abdallah. For our next speaker, may I call Mr. Kiprono Kitoni, Chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Abdallah bin Mohammed Al-Nuami, Minister for Climate Change and Environment, Your Excellency, Peter Munya, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Kenya, Abdallah Mohammed Al-Awar, Chief Executive Officer of the Dubai Islamic Economy Development, Durad Zugani, COO of Investment Corporation of Dubai, members of the diplomatic corps who are present, leaders of various organizations, and representatives of various state corporations. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And I will start by, at the outset, saying what a wonderful honor and privilege it is to participate in this very, very interesting and exciting Dubai Week in Africa. And at that juncture, I would like to really laud and commend the organizers, Dubai Consulting, UAE Trade Center. And Dubai in Africa Forum is a clear testament that the UAE is keen on supporting Kenya to realize its economic potential through highlighting opportunities to increase bilateral trade and investment, as well as to provide a platform to offer solutions to legacy challenges that have inhibited growth in trade between our two countries. In the previous role that I played as the president of the chamber, we did a lot to open up the two markets, but I think initiatives such as this, particularly in COVID times, are what is really going to take us to the next level. And today, I am happy to represent the Nairobi Securities Exchange in this conference, highlighting opportunities that the Kenyan capital markets provide and how we equally stand to benefit from strong trade relations with the Middle East leading commercial and trading hub. The Kenyan financial markets provide the UAE a great entry point to establish its economic presence in this region. Equally, the market stands to benefit greatly from one of the top 10 sources of foreign direct investment in the sub-Saharan Africa region. And before I continue with my official speech, allow me to share more details about the NSE. And the NSE, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, is the leading financial market infrastructure group in the East African region. We actually have tradable bonds, equities, and securities in the region of about $56 billion US. Our key role is to facilitate the trading, clearing, and settlement of financial market transactions, connecting Kenya to global investments. We have a strong heritage for the listing of equity and debt securities spanning a period of over 60 years. As I will highlight further in my address, our market provides diversified products portfolio, enabling investors to build portfolios across a range of globally recognized investment products while supporting companies to raise capital for growth and expansion. I'll talk briefly about investment opportunities in Kenyan financial markets. Ladies and gentlemen, we offer investors access to Kenya and East Africa's growth through exposure of leading companies across various sectors of our economy. I'm glad to note that some of the region's largest players in telecommunications, like Safaricom, banking, like Equity Bank and Kenya Commercial Bank, manufacturing, there are many manufacturing companies, as well as the energy sector, such as KenGen, are listed in our market and would encourage the Investment Corporation of Dubai to consider deploying some of their assets into our capital markets. I think this is the best time, and you could read a lot more about it, and we can provide you with a lot more information that you may need to make that decision. These companies are providing investors with strong returns in the form of dividends and capital gains, underscoring our market's ability to offer alternative investment opportunities for UAE-based investors. As a market, we have maintained a strong global connection through sustaining active global affiliations that have enabled us to attract international investors. In fact, currently, over 65% of our investors are international and 35% are local investors. As a leading frontier market, although we intend to move from being a frontier market to an emerging market, we continue to offer investors a strong investment case. To put this in better perspective, our market continues to offer attractive valuation discounts. The NSE is currently trading at a price-earning ratio of 13.9x compared to 20x and 28x in emerging and developed markets, meaning investors stand to gain exceptional returns by investing in our market. As highlighted earlier, our market has continually attracted increasing capital from foreign investors, a testament of the attractive returns investors stand to make by investing in Kenya through the NSE. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll talk briefly about Sukuk. Islamic finance has been one of the NSE's foremost focus areas. Our commitment to develop attractive Islamic finance products is guided by the growing demand for the buy and sell side and the ability for such products to increase our ability to mobilize international capital into our country, especially from the Middle East and the GCC region. Islamic finance is now amongst the fastest growing financial segments in the international financial system, with an average estimated annual growth of between 15 to 20%, which is quite significant. More recently, there have been a growing diversity in the range of products and services being offered and in the markets that are being developed. The Sukuk market, that is the Islamic bond market segment, denominated in international currencies, has registered a remarkable growth in recent years. This market is expected to continue to expand significantly given the massive financing requirements for infrastructure investments and other private sector investments by countries that have shown interest in Islamic financing. Equally, developing such products will be critical in our quest to make Nairobi the international financial center, providing unmatched access to investment opportunities in this Eastern Central African region. And to support this endeavor, we signed an MOU with NASDAQ Dubai to work together towards supporting the issuance and listing of Sukuk by the Kenyan government. Regulatory-wise, I'm glad to note that our regulator, the Capital Markets Authority of Kenya, has prioritized this growth by supporting reforming the policy and regulatory landscape to allow for even treatment of Islamic and unconventional finance. Additionally, we are working closely with our National Treasury and the Capital Markets Authority to create awareness among market holders as we target to enhance Islamic finance awareness in Kenya. There are many areas of possible collaboration, and despite the work done to enhance investment in our two countries, I believe there are possible areas of collaboration that we can leverage on to enhance trade and investment between our two regions. Islamic finance is now at the threshold of a new dimension in which it has increased potential. It has an increased potential role to strengthen international financial interlinkages between nations. Islamic finance has a potential to contribute towards the efficient mobilization and allocation of funds across our region. I believe Kenya and the UAE can leverage on a joint investor relations roadshow to support communication of opportunities for trade and investments between Kenya and the UAE. And similarly, the roadshows will support us in identifying challenges affecting direct investments and private investment opportunities between our two countries and creating suitable solutions to address the challenges that may exist. In terms of capacity building, I believe we stand to gain from capacity building initiatives by Kenya and the UAE. This will grow local knowledge about trade and investment opportunities in our regions. In conclusion, I wish to express my very sincere gratitude to the organizers of this very important and timely forum focused on developing stronger and more resilient economic relations between Kenya and the UAE. I look forward to working closely with the team to realize the investment vision of both countries, as well as wish you fruitful deliberations in the course of the conference as it progresses. This is an exciting year for the UAE. I mean, I have no doubt whatsoever that despite the challenges we face with COVID, we still look forward to taking part in the Expo that is later this year, as well as the World Chamber Congress. Thank you very much, and may God bless you, and may we enjoy the remainder of this very, very important interaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kiprono. May I call Mr. Dured Zawani, Chief Operating Officer of the Investment Corporation of Dubai.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, it's a real pleasure and honor to be with you this afternoon. I would like to thank the organizer of the event for inviting us to be part of it. We are planning, honestly, to be there on day one. It couldn't work on a logistic point of view, and we are so happy and grateful for the organizer for inviting us for this last day. Hopefully technology will not fail us. I have a couple of videos I will share with you, very, very short video, 30 seconds. But I would like first to say how impressed we are by this event that was planned, this Dubai Week in Africa, especially in Kenya. And we believe this is an exceptional opportunity to build on the relation that exists between UAE and Africa and to strengthen even further these relations for the years to come. As investment corporation of Dubai, we are a sovereign wealth fund. We play on different sectors from aviation to energy, to real estate, to agriculture, which is one of the subjects we discussed today. To give you an idea of who we are in the transportation, we have Emirates Airlines, which is exceptional, we believe, very good company that serve a lot Africa. We have 28 stops in Africa. And we play on different sectors. As I said, we play on different asset classes. And I thank Mr. Kitoni for his invitation to see us look into the Nairobi Security Exchange. And we definitely will look at it. And we'll play in different geographies in the US, in Europe, definitely here in Dubai, and also in Africa. In Africa, we are present. We have presence in South Africa. We have presence in Nigeria. We have presence in Rwanda. And we like Africa. We like Africa because we like first as a continent, you know, we like the energy, we like the creativity, we like the innovation we see in Africa. We like the eagerness. People are eager to do better, to come and overachieve what we think we can, all of us, deliver in Africa. And we see it honestly as a tremendous opportunity for both sides, for Africa, working with the Middle East, with the UAE particularly, and for the UAE to work with Africa. I would like to play a very short video to tell you who we are, the spirit we have on our relationship with the different stakeholders, because I would like to take this opportunity today to share with you an initiative that goes absolutely in line with what we are discussing about today, Dubai and Africa. So please, let's play the video. It's 30 seconds, but then we build on it.
Our success is built on helping others to fly higher, go further, to realize their dreams. Together, we can achieve more. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow for everyone.
And you see, this is what I would like to bring to our conversation today, is how we work together, how we come to a brighter tomorrow for everyone, how we can learn from each other. Dubai, like a few decades ago, and you see where we are today, I think we can learn from each other, we can come together and bring a brighter tomorrow for our population and our countries. So the initiative I would like to share with you today is called, and you'll see, and by the way, I'm really sharing this with you, the idea, and I will tell you how we came to this idea, came from exchange discussion we had with plenty of our colleagues and some of our investors and partners in Africa, and we came to this idea and we developed it to make it much bigger. We call it, and we can go on the next slide, Dubai Global Connect. It's the initiative to create a global wholesale B2B market, focusing on this first phase on three sectors: furniture, fashion, and food. His Excellency the Minister Al-Nuaimi was talking earlier, and the Excellency Minister of Agriculture here in Kenya talking about the food security. Food is definitely an exceptional point of, it's a priority for all of us in the years to come. And we came to this idea, if we see the next slide, really coming from this thinking about Africa. We said how we can be a facilitator, how we can help Africa to access additional market in the world, how we can bring additional opportunity to Africa. And then we expanded, honestly, to Asia and Europe and Australia. But the first example came from Africa, and I will tell you why. So the idea is to say, if there is a lot of trade happening in the world, how we can, being a broker in the middle, facilitate this trade and help the people to grow their business and to make life easier for them. So we said, we may create a place, a hub here in Dubai, where people can connect, come together on an easier way. I give you an example, and please don't spend too much time on this slide, but if you try to follow me. If I am a producer of a given good in Africa, and I would like, because I have an exceptional quality and I have the ambition to go and conquer the world, how do I do it? how should I travel to Europe, to Asia, to India, to Australia? And it's difficult. We have difficulty of movement today, especially with the corona. We have difficulty of visa. We have difficulty. So if I would have the space where I can come, put my goods, present my capabilities in one place because I have a lot of people coming there, it would make a lot of sense for me because I will do one trip instead of 5 or 6. If now I am a buyer, I met an exceptional person from Ghana. He's the biggest person, a company, I mean, in furniture in Ghana. And he's a big reseller of furniture, and he brings this furniture from all around the world. He needs to go to Italy because Italy is a producer of furniture. He needs to go to France. He needs to go to Indonesia because they are a big producer of furniture. He needs to go to Turkey, to China. So he said, yeah, but if I have all these producers now of furniture coming here in one place, and I go to that place and see them all, again, I do one trip instead of 5. So the idea is to create like a hub, like an ecosystem where we have global buyers from all around the world and global sellers from all around the world coming together on a space that is big enough. Scale is there because I need to take the whole benefit of one trip. I need to find them all. And one space where not only we have showrooms, but we have all the ecosystems that make life easier. That means we help them on the licensing, we help them on the financing, we help them on the logistic, we help them on insurance, on banking, on a place that has safety, security, easy access, and ease of business. That's the idea. You create a city of trade where people come there, connect together, and grow their business and find additional opportunity. And as the world has changed, as you can imagine, we have the physical hub, but we have also an e-platform that we, by the way, planning to open before the hub itself, when people can start transacting and connecting and increasing and growing their business. And really, the first element we thought about is how we can Africa benefiting from this, because we have this energy I was talking about, how to bring this exceptional product and capability of Africa to the rest of the world. Instead of going to the rest of the world, you come to Dubai and the world will come to you. And if you want also to buy stuff from the rest of the world on this sector will be there. And that's why we are limiting 3 sectors, because it needs to be relevant. It needs to be big. So we started with the sectors that are big on this movement between Africa and Asia, between CIS countries and Australia, between Africa and Europe. And these are furniture, fashion, and definitely food. Food is an exceptional example, and Kenya is one of the key producer and exporter of food, and I think we can help Kenya to have even more access to the rest of the world. If you allow me another video that say maybe better than I, what is Dubai Global Connect, and I will try to close after that on a few additional comments. Please, let's play the next video, very short one.
Great products come from all corners of the world. We go out of our way to find the best materials, flavors, and designs. But as much as we love to travel, it's not easy at the best of times. And as circumstances change, we need to adapt. So instead of traveling the world, why not meet halfway? Dubai Global Connect is a wholesale market that brings together buyers and sellers with great goods from all over the world, all year round in one central location for safe and easy trade. Dubai Global Connect, where the world comes to trade.
And we see it, as someone has commented already this morning, a gateway for Africa, for the rest of the world, both on bringing the product of Africa to the rest of the world and also getting the benefit of that's happening in the rest of the world to Africa, but through one trip, as you said, on optimizing the energy focus on our business. To progress on this one, if you go on the next slide, we started engaging the market, and I see the meeting we're having today. And again, I thank you for this invitation. It's an opportunity for us to bring this idea before even the full construction of this project. I will show you that we have started already and it's open. We are mapping the market, saying, okay, what kind of company we have in Africa and in Europe and Asia that would be interested by this in food, furniture, and fashion. We have already a website. You can go on our website and connect us. We are preparing this e-platform, the market time. And yes, we're counting absolutely on the Expo to give further visibility to this initiative. We are adjacent to the Expo. It's happening in October 2021, and we do count on our friend in Africa and the African countries, the companies, and the government to be on the Expo, which will be, we hope and believe, an exceptional event. If I finish on the last slide, just to tell you that if I move to the next slide, please. We are already there. We are open. This is our visitor center. We haven't opened it officially early January, where we would like to welcome you anytime to tell you more about this this hub we are creating really for you, to give you access, to give access to your product to the rest of the world, and to give you the possibility also to source some of the needs you have on this rest sector on an easy, safe, practical way in one place, an ecosystem that is there for you. So if I close my comment here, and we don't need slide anymore, please, if you can take out this slide and allow me to come to my conclusion remarks. You know, there is an interesting, we can even take this, thank you. If there is an African proverb that I heard it first time when I was in Nigeria on one meeting, and someone said, and you know this proverb, if we want to go fast, we go low. If we want to go far, we go together. And this is our way of doing. We want to go together. We are bringing an initiative here that hopefully will be very exciting for all of you. And we are building this for the years to come. And definitely we want to go together, bringing a brighter future for everyone. Thank you for the attention. I hope I've not been too long, and I'm really grateful again for the invitation, and believing this was an exceptional event. So thank you for the organizer, thank you for the attendee, and thank you for everyone who has participated to this exceptional initiative. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks, Mr. Dured. For today's panel, we will be discussing halal food trading and positioning in international markets. May I call today's moderator, Dr. Ashraf Mahate, Chief Economist, Trade and Export Market Development at Dubai Exports.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nafali, for that wonderful introduction. And it's certainly a pleasure to be here today to talk about what I believe will be a very interesting topic and a very timely topic, because we're looking at halal food trading. And when we look at the importance of the halal food sector, what we find is that it accounts for $2.1 trillion of trade, which by 2023 will be $3 trillion. Sorry. Now, what are the driving forces behind this? What we find are a fast young population with a median age of about 24 years. We also find that the global population is expected to be 3 billion people by 2060, an increase of about 70% from the current levels. When we talk about Africa, one of the interesting things is that over half of the countries in Africa are actually members of the Organization of Islamic Countries. So this actually brings a very good nexus of global halal trade on the one hand, and also on the other hand, the idea that there's a huge domestic consumption, but also production. And this actually forms the basis of today's panel session. The idea that how can we transform the Islamic or the halal global trading business from a niche segment to mainstream. What is the product positioning required? What are the new forms of business trading platforms that we need? And how can we actually capitalize on this huge potential? To help me explore this topic, I'm honored and privileged to have a very, very experienced and esteemed panel. I have today Amina Mohammed, CEO of Emirates International Accreditation Center, Sheikh Abdul Latif from the Kenyan Halal Accreditation Center, Omar Khan, Director of International Offices, Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Salah Luta, Chairman of Food and Beverage Manufacturing Group, Brenda Denus, General Manager of Brookside Dairy. I shall not go through their amazing biographies, and they truly have amazing biographies. In the interest of time, I will actually go straight and ask the panelists the questions, but I seriously urge you to look at the Dubai Week in Africa website, where you will find all the biographies of the panelists. So let's dive straight into the topic. Halal food trading is synonymous with the idea of multiple halal accreditation organizations. Amina, I'd like to ask you this first question. Do you believe that multiple halal accreditation organizations support and promote the sector? And if so, how? Amina?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Ashraf, and thank you for inviting me for this discussion. And it's my pleasure to be with you today. Yeah, with regard to your question of the multi-halal accreditation body, yes, I believe that multi-halal accreditation body, it is important and it's required to support the halal certification body sector in the production country where the halal certification body conducting their job. This support can be realized by using a clear and unified operated halal conformity assessment system. ABs for sure, it is important player, but at the end, accreditation body will evaluate the competency of halal certification body to assure that they fulfill to the and complying to the established requirement by the system and scheme owner. As we have to give the important and more attention to the quality of halal certification body work by introducing a comprehensive scheme accredited by those accreditation body. This shall be conducted by and concluded in by an umbrella of multilateral recognition of halal accreditation to facilitate the business by recognize the halal conformity assessment of the product in different economy under this umbrella. I can conclude what I said, that multi-halal accreditation body, it is important, but all the halal accreditation body, they have to be under umbrella of multilateral recognition, and all of them, they have to follow the same standard, same scheme, and unified system. Thank you.
Perfect. I think that really sums it up, that you can actually have a lot of choice. So the manufacturer can choose which particular halal accreditation organization they want. At the same time, so can the consumer. Sheikh Abdul Latif, from a Kenyan perspective, and again, for us, the real idea is how do you create trade? So Sheikh Abdul Latif, from a Kenyan perspective, I'd like to ask you the same question. Do you believe that multiple halal accreditation organizations support the sector as you see it in Kenya? Sheikh Abdul Latif? Do we have Sheikh Abdul Latif there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for having me on board. It's a pleasure to be invited in such a forum. Thank you so much. Kenya Bureau of Halal Certification was established in 2007, so we are about 14 years old now. We're members of World Halal Council. We studied a lot from JAKIM, the Malaysian government halal body, and I support what the sentiments of Sister Amina, that as long as everybody is going to follow a unified parameters, then it will be good. When you have many players doing the same thing, you also have the positive competition, which produces quality, and also the price goes down. So it's good for everybody, because you will be you'll find yourself out if you don't give quality, you don't deliver quality services. And also monopoly brings about also the price goes up. So those are some of the factors which are very, very important for any business to thrive. One, there will be positive competition, which will increase service delivery, the quality service delivery, and two, the price of halal certification will go down. Thank you so much. But we can't compromise the quality.
Certainly, and you're right, Sheikh Abdul Latif, in the sense that quality is paramount, and when you have competition, you can actually get innovation, you get creativity, and everyone's driven by bringing the price down. But because of this, we have actually seen a lot more innovation in halal accreditation. I believe that you have seen the same in Kenya.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe because of our quality, that's why we have accredited even outside Kenya. We have accredited or certified not only companies in East Africa like Tanzania and Uganda, but as far as West Africa, in Chad, Ghana, Niger, and so on and so forth. Maybe because of our quality, that's why even companies out of the country they call us for certification. Thank you.
I mean, if I can bring you back, I mean, you also supported the idea of multiple halal accreditation systems. Do you also see that this as bringing costs down, increasing quality, and creating more innovation and creativity in the sector? Amina?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, as we are going to discuss further on, like in Kenya, we are also on top of us are Kenya National Accreditation Services. This is a government accreditation body which makes sure that every accreditation body they are producing high quality with the same parameters that are across the board. Just one thing to add on, when we look at halal, we not only look at the halal status, but also halal and tayyiban. We go even a step forward. For example, we have a very big problem in our part of the world on aflatoxin. If you know aflatoxin, it attacks the maize, because our staple food in Kenya is maize. So maize is generally halal, but maize which has been attacked by aflatoxin, it is poisonous. So we also look at the hygienic levels and standards, and how healthy that product, because it's going to be consumed by is for human consumption, cleanliness of the premises being processed, and so on and so forth. There's a big misconception about halal, that halal is spirituality, but it's not only spirituality, it is also the quality and the hygiene and cleanness of that product.
I'd like to bring Amina back in. Amina, I mean, the idea that, do you believe that multiple organizations actually lead to creativity and innovation? And perhaps if you can give us an example. Amina?
Yeah. Just before answering your question, I want to clarify one point, that when we are talking about the multi-organization, the multi-organization as a certification body, it's good to have multi-certification body in the same economy or the same country. Yes, and if all the certification body, they are accredited by the accreditation body, it means that all this certification body, they will be on the same quality and the same level. And that is very healthy, and that is really, it will reduce the cost, and as you say, that it will lead to innovation. But if we will talk about the multi-accreditation body, when I talk about the multi-accreditation body, I mean the multi-accreditation body in different country. That is also good because of the geographic and the different distance. It's good to have a multi-accreditation body, but it should be one accreditation body in each country, because normally the accreditation body, they are a governmental body, and in each country maybe they will have only one accreditation body, different or multi-certification body. But all accreditation body, they have to be under one umbrella of mutual recognition, and the certification body, they have to be certified by this accreditation body.
Wonderful. I think I like the idea about the mutual recognition, because that's very important for trade.
Yes.
In my introduction, I talked about what I think is the game changer. For me, the most important game changer in Africa is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It's an amazing thing. And I did mention that over half of the countries in Africa are members of the Organization of Islamic Countries. So Omar, you look after multiple offices in Africa. You, mashallah, do a great job at Dubai Chamber. So my question to you, Omar, is how can we actually leverage the position of UAE companies in the sector within the continent, and what is Dubai Chamber doing to promote halal trade in Africa? Omar?
Well, thank you very much, Doctor, for your introduction. Thank you to Walid and Dubai Consultancy and the UAE Trade Center for having us here today. It's a great pleasure. I hope everybody's staying safe, but also we're all staying engaged nonetheless. Regarding your question with the FTA, it's going to be, of course, a very big game changer, most importantly for Africa and Africans. And we expect a 10% boost from 2020 to 2025 in bilateral trade. This is something that's a great progress, and we've had many virtual sessions regarding it last year and continuing this year. But the trade is not the main reason that we are highlighting it, because this will go on. Logistics is second to none here, and we are facilitating, and you can see products and raw materials coming out of the African nations, and machinery and capital equipment going in. So, and that's not going to last forever. And I always refer to something called a closing window of opportunity to our members about having a true sustainable partnership in the African journey. Yes, like I said, we are great facilitators, but we have to take it to the next level, or somebody else will. And of course, the intra-Africa trade at the moment, we were just discussing this, is between 15 to 17%. So it has a long way to grow. And when it does, this is going to be potentially a threat for people who are staying in the bilateral relationship from a distance. So we have to understand that the borders and the barriers and the bureaucracy are all slowly going to be removed. We saw this in East Africa from Mombasa to Kigali, where I saw the days of transit for trucks and containers just go down every year. And with the East Africa Railway as well, digitization is going to help penetrate every sector, and information and intelligence is going to free flow, and e-commerce is going to take over. And the potential, of course, but for Africa and the Islamic economy both have kind of been taking a back seat, or been a stepchild when times were good. And I think now more than ever, you're going to see that the tables have changed, and people from different regions who were seeing it as an option, they're going to start flocking towards it. So there's great potential. So we believe definitely in the journey for Africa. the intra-Africa, the Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement as well, people are saying it's going to take time, it's going to, it has some hurdles, and it's going to be implemented at different rates. But people said this about the digitization and e-commerce in the UAE. We saw eBay, Amazon 20 years before it finally kicked in here. But when it did, retailers were caught off guard by the sudden spark that set it off, where we had Noon, where we had Amazon, we had Souq that finally was purchased by Amazon, and suddenly they were caught off guard. We don't want to be in that position. So that's why 10 years ago, we started our journey, and Dubai Chamber is very proud now to be hosting the Global Business Forum, the 6th edition, as the official Expo Business Integration Partner. And we've just conducted a 6-session roadshow with all the sub-Saharan regions, with the public and private sector. And we've poured $27 million in the past 10 years, because our goal is to actually get into Africa, facilitate the trade, then become partners, and then invest. Because once the African, you would start developing more and more countries like South Africa that would take raw materials from their neighbors, have finished goods, then they would export it to another place where they would have assembly. Then that thing becomes like a sort of a storm, a perfect storm, where the outside countries and people who are trading from far away will be left out. So this is where we see the potential, and this is where we're driving for the 6th edition to have actual impact, deals signed, and getting closer and closer towards Africa and the continuity of the opportunities in the story.
I mean, Omar, I totally agree with you. I mean, what you said is actually amazing, because you're right. I mean, Africa is going to be the largest single market in the world, right? Both in number terms, but I also believe in GDP terms. And you're certainly correct. I mean, the window of opportunity is limited. And today, you said something amazing. You said digital trade. There are 3 things we love about digital trade. It's removed this information asymmetry. I have to go through yellow pages. I remember 21 years ago, coming to Dubai Chamber, going to the library on the 3rd floor, looking at the books and trying to writing the names by hand, right? We don't do this anymore. We have Google, so we have information. And the whole idea about immediacy. We want things today. You mentioned Amazon and Noon. They ship today. You book before 10 o'clock, they ship today. And the third part is the idea that knowledge spreads very fast. What we see happening in one part of the world, within days, it's replicated somewhere else, right? How can we capitalize on that to create greater trading, halal-based trading links with Africa? And I know you have a number of offices and you're doing amazing work there. Omar,
well,
I've asked you there.
Well, the most important thing is we're finally seeing continuity in our story and our engagement. It's not, we see a delegation every year or every 2 years, and it's a big gap, and we feel like we're starting from the beginning. I'm very happy and proud to see so many familiar partners like Mr. Kitoni and others that are so familiar, because that shows that we have been engaging. Because what we have to do is build trust. We have the technology, we have the know-hows, and we just have to bridge the gaps and build a trust. Because a few years ago, we used to sit at tables and used to discuss potential opportunities where there'd be a product, and we'd, in the meeting, say, why is this not happening? Why aren't avocados being shipped from Kenya? Now, what's changed now is we've changed, in terms of the honesty of our exchanges, where once we may go away from the meetings and express our true opinions behind closed doors about the barriers and the challenges, we are now brave enough to put and to be honest enough to lay our cards on the table and be very genuinely honest with our partners, and they appreciate this and they take it as food for thought, and we're sharing best practices. So once you build the information gap, you bridge the trust gap. We're bridging through the offices the information gap, because the news cycle is not focused, is not thinking about how is UAE and Dubai and Africa going to improve their trade. The news is there, I believe, to distract you a lot. And usually businessmen and women can do very little about it. What we were working here with all the partners here is bringing business communities news they can take action upon. You get some useful news, a pipeline of changes, regulation changes, law changes and opportunities, and then you can pick up the phone call, you can call Dubai Export, you can call Dubai Consultancy, you can call the Certification Center, the Islamic Economy Center, and Dubai Chamber, and pick up the phone and say, I want to do something about this, and we have never been as close as to do it. It's just the attention, and the COVID has brought now attention and focus on the Islamic economy and on Africa. So, and from that point of view, it's a golden opportunity.
Wonderful. I totally agree with you. I think the immediacy is very important. Now, let's take a little move away from the macro picture to understanding what industry feels. Salah Luther, as a chairman of the UAE Food and Beverage Group, what do you feel needs to be done in order to leverage the halal sector to move it from a niche? Because we very much look at halal foods even today, and we think of it as a niche sector. How can we move it from niche to mainstream? So when I look at a product, I think this is the one. Salah?
First of all, thank you, Ashraf, for inviting us for this great event today. Thank you, Dubai Consultancy, Walid, for the great effort. For us to move the halal food, to make it mainstream, I think for us, first we have to understand the consumer better. In the old days, people were looking for the halal for the sake of halal. With the new generations, things has changed drastically. The new generation is not looking for only halal. They're looking for all the aspects of consuming food. Quality, healthy, tasty, packaging, merchandising. All these things comes as a main reason for the new generation to buy your product. It's not like the old days. So I think our way of just living in the halal world, thinking that only this world will make my product fly from the shelf, it does not work with the new generation. Maybe it worked with the old generation, but I think with the new generations, with the technology, with the internet, with them being exposed to all this variety, for us, we have to really listen to them carefully to be able to win their mind share.
You're certainly right. We live in a world where I call it the Instagram food. Now, before you eat, you take 100 photographs from different angles, you post them online, and then you eat, right? And then after eating, you write a long review about the product, okay? So in this social media world, how do we make the leapfrog? How do we make the jump so that actually we are mainstream? People pick us, not only Muslims, non-Muslims pick halal foods as a choice of life.
See, Ashraf, two things have hit us really strongly last year. One, the advance of technology and how technology played a major role with the COVID-19 hit. So these two things, they really change it already changed our life and will change it even more going forward. So what we need to be very transparent. Consumer want personality. They need the product to represent their personality when they take it. So you have to be a crystal clear, transparent with them when you are sharing your values, when you are communicating to them, when you are being very honest with them. Because guess what? With the social media speed of spread, you cannot make any mistakes. They will not take it easy. You have to be transparent, you have to be genuine, and you have to walk the talk. Whatever you say, you have to really deliver it for them in the end of the day. The consumer right is to make sure that we are really fulfilling all this for them. The way we produce, the way we process, the way we slaughter, the way we merchandise, the way we communicate, and you have to respect their requirement. This is how I see it going forward.
No, you're certainly correct, because social media is totally unforgiving. I mean, there are many, many examples. I can mention the airline that removed a passenger and the business went down. I mean, there are many, many, many examples. But let's look at this from a Kenyan perspective. And Brenda, we were talking earlier about technology, what I call trade tech. But I'd like to ask you the same question as Salah, which is from a Kenyan perspective, what do you think needs to be done to leverage the halal sector to become mainstream? Brenda?
Okay, good morning, everybody. First, I'd like to thank everyone, especially Dubai, the Dubai Kenya Forum, that they were able to get us on board. If everybody can hear me, if you can't, please let me know and I'll speak louder.
That's fine, but a little bit louder would be good.
A little bit louder? Okay. I'm
a little bit deaf now.
No, I have a heavy voice, so I need to know how to speak louder. So just to answer your question, which is a very important question, is basically how do we see it from the Kenyan perspective? For me, I think what I've always held very important is education and information. If I walked up to a consumer in Kenya right now that was Muslim as well, they probably wouldn't be able to explain it in very simple terms. Okay, what is halal and what is haram? Okay, so that is the first thing. As Abdulatif mentioned, it's perceived as a religious symbol, not a food safety symbol or a processing symbol, for example. Okay, so people get confused when they see halal in Islamic banking and halal on food. The understanding of what is halal to begin with. So education and information for me would be the key things that the consumers and also manufacturers need to be educated on. What are the benefits to the consumer? What are the benefits to the manufacturer? As we all know, COVID-19, that is affecting all of us, and that's why we're having a meeting on a screen today, is because it came from food. It was an issue of food. That's the background, or what we'd like to be told, is that it came from food. So consumption of food is very critical as we move forward. So understanding, when the manufacturer understands the benefit, it's not just an accreditation. I think Salah Abdullah said the same thing. It's not just a symbol, because we can all, many years ago, you just put it on your product and you go and get it accredited and that's it. Today, as a manufacturer, I have to understand, what does it mean? What is halal? What am I being accredited about? Because, for example, like as a manufacturer in dairy, I have flavors. So I have the yogurt. The yogurt could be halal, but I could put a flavor that is not halal. I could put coloring that's not halal. So understanding as a manufacturer that the entire product that I present to the consumer has got to be halal. And what is halal? And what's the difference of if I use something that's not halal? What's the difference? It makes it haram. And what is haram? So once we all understand it as consumers and manufacturers, I think we are able to commit and understand the benefit of food safety in its entirety. So basically for me, I'd encourage that we all, especially I'll throw this challenge to all the OIC and the SMIIC countries, member countries, on how to educate internally and externally, okay? We have a big Muslim community in Kenya, but there are countries that are not Muslim, so, but I still sell in non-Muslim countries. So what does that even mean, okay? What does it mean? Today we are a global community. You will find a Muslim in every country in the world. So it's not really about a Muslim country as much as it's about a consumer who's concerned about what he's eating. So let me give an example of Brookside. In the last year, since 2019, the end of 2019, I'm part of product development in the organization. So as I got to understand more about halal and what it means, it's now something that is put on our products. The symbol, the accreditation, is now a symbol. We didn't do that before. We didn't have. So what would happen? A buyer or a wholesaler comes from Dubai, for example, buys my ghee, only ourselves and he know that we are halal certified. But what about the consumer? The symbol was not on my product. Effective the last 1.5 years, it's now part of my labeling so that the consumer knows I am halal certified. So the question now is, does he know what halal certification means? Even to the non-Muslim, it's still a benefit because every person wants to consume safe food, irrespective. So it's a benefit whether I'm a Muslim or a non-Muslim. So we have put it as part of our labeling. So we are launching 2 products in the next 2 months, and the halal certification is part of it, which I'd like to tell Mr. Sheikh that is part of now Brookside's commitment to have the halal certification as part of our labeling. Okay, and the last one on that question is the requirement, for example, when a manufacturer understands what it means and why I should have it as a benefit. It means at a go, if I see a halal certification, just like today when we see ISO certification. ISO means quality, means safety, means so many things. It's a whole round answer without many explanations. So halal needs to be as assured, but it needs to be educated. It's not a religious symbol. It's not about religion. It's about safety. So for me, I think that's, to answer your question, I think that's education would be the key thing that we need to do. So I hope I've answered the first question.
Actually, you've answered that question beautifully. And for me personally, when I look at halal, I mean, obviously as a Muslim, I still think of it as an ethical brand. Like I look at fair trade or I look at organic, but also the whole concept which you touched upon, the idea that halal has to be halal from the farm to the fork.
Absolutely.
But also the production processes, the labor processes, the employment contract, the finance, the whole ecosystem has to be halal. And this brings me back to Amina. And also I'll ask the same question to Sheikh Abdul Latif. But I'll start with Amina, which is many countries use halal as a trade barrier, as a non-tariff barrier, because at the end of the day, you can, if you don't recognize somebody's trademark, you don't allow those products into your country and your domestic market gets a benefit. So Amina, what role can accreditation bodies and organizations play in order to assist the halal sector to become mainstream and not block international trade, to allow more freedom of trade? Amina?
Yeah, in fact, if you will talk about the accreditation, it's built purposely to remove the trade barrier and facilitate the agreement between countries to other. As we said, that multilateral, it is important because multilateral between the accreditation body, it will remove the trade barrier, because one of the practice to block the trade is to create the technical trade barrier. Since a long time, as we are an accreditation body, we are working together with IHAF, maybe you heard about the International Halal Accreditation Forum, with the other accreditation body to build a mechanism to recognize each other and to use different economy to realize the vision that at the end, what we need that we accredit once and should be accepted everywhere. This is our vision as an accreditation body, and this is the purpose of why we need accreditation. We need to accredit once and to be accepted everywhere, where the halal MLA recognized is enriching the trade and keep the investor comfortable and keen to enter a specific market. Just I want to add also little comments on what they discussed before regarding the education of halal. Yeah, really, I agree with them. It's very important, because the word halal now it's totally different than what we understand before. For me also, when I heard about the halal food, it was always in my mind that it is only halal slaughtering. That's all. That the animal it's slaughtered halal, that is the halal. But when the accreditation certification scheme start and new scheme of halal, it is established, what we know that, as it is mentioned by Mr. Abdul Latif Sheikh, that the halal now, the term of halal now, it is different than what we understand before, that the halal is halalan tayyiban. That halalan tayyiban, which is include the quality, safety, and sharia requirements. It's not only sharia requirements, but we are taking care of quality, we are taking care of the safety of the food, and in addition to the sharia requirements, first, halal standard, it is, we can say that it is integrated the ISO requirements of the management of the safety and quality with our sharia requirements from the farm to the fork.
Wonderful, thank you. Sheikh Abdul Latif, I'd like to ask you the same question. How can we use these accreditation bodies to enhance trade rather than stop trade, especially from an African context? Sheikh Abdul Latif?
Yeah, thank you so much. I look at this from two levels. Level one is internally as the country. In Kenya, for example, we have our umbrella body for accreditation, which is it's a parastatal, it's a government body. It's called KENAS, Kenya National Accreditation Services. So the mandate is to make sure that all halal bodies are at a high quality and they give quality services to their consumers. Number two is advocacy. For example, now we are in very, very high talks with the Ministry of Tourism, the TBA, Tourist Board Authority, on the hospitality sector, the tourist hotels, and so on and so forth, on whether fully fledged halal certified hotels or Muslim friendly, as they call them, Muslim friendly hotels. So on the context of the national, you have to partner with the local government agencies. And then on the international arena, then you also have to partner with international accreditation certifying bodies. For example, we've partnered with JAKIM. Why JAKIM? The JAKIM, of course, is a Malaysian halal body because it has long or many years of experience in this sector. The quality is good. They have very high standards and so on and so forth. We're also members of World Halal Council, whereby every year they have conferences in different parts of the world and so on and so forth. So both in the local as well as in the international arena, you have to be there. Rightly spoken by my sister Brenda, education, information, sensitization, it's very, very important to both the consumers as well as the manufacturers. So we have a long way to go. Of course, the halal sector in Kenya is still very young. We are only about 14 years old, but we are on the right track and we see a bright future. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. A couple of good pieces of news. More than 500 people watching us at the moment. This is a great achievement, and it actually shows how important this topic is. That on a Thursday morning, afternoon, we got over 500 people, and the numbers seem to be increasing, as I'm being told by the organizers. Now, Omar, one of the things I find amazing about the UAE economy is that food and beverage sector is very strong. Yet the UAE only has 1% arable land. How do you see this? I mean, how do you see the cooperation, Omar, from a Dubai Chamber perspective between UAE companies and Africa going forward? Omar?
Well, as I mentioned, I foresee us actually delving deeper into Africa and moving closer to the sources, especially because of the food security issues here. But it is a challenge, and the UAE is also looking at many technologies for the limitations we have in terms of arable lands. But one of the things that we can do, if you look at what Duraid was talking about ICD's Dubai Global Connect project, and what DMCC has already done, it's that we move, I think, one of the largest number by tons of tea, for example, through the tea center, which has been a tremendous success, but we don't grow a single leaf here. Now they're eyeing coffee and also some spices. I'm chasing them and saying, well, you're going to have cocoa for Ivory Coast and Ghana. And so they're slowly playing the long game about how to capture the hub market. But like I said, sooner or later, in terms of food security, you also want to go deeper inside, develop these farms. We have a lot of expertise in avoiding food wastage, in logistics and cold storage. And there's so many gaps in many different emerging markets that you could easily plug in the expertise of the Dubai companies. So I see that we have to go there because we are chasing let's say the GCC market is our biggest contributor. Africa now is at 11%. However, we're trying to grow it. But if you look at the GCC 10 years ago, we would look at Africa and say the risk profile of the countries in Africa is too risky. Let's stick to our home pond here. Now, if you look at the past few years with regards to the stability and predictability and competition of the region, whether it's Iraq, Iran, Qatar, it's fluctuating. And now if you compare it to Africa, Africa seems quite comparable or tame as well. So you have 54 choices and such a huge population. And even if we were talking about West Africa, for example, the UAE companies need to think about the big game, whether they set up in West Africa, for example, to cater to the Southern European markets where they get benefits, or the Eastern Board of the United States where they have the AGOA treaty. So this is where we have to think about not exporting products, exporting UAE companies and what they do and how well they do it to those regions, because this is what we're trying to push for. We're seeing more and more factories, packaging, and even our malls now are going, and our hotels are actually going outwards. It's about what we do. So there's a great opportunity. And I think because of the COVID squeeze and the softening of prices and oil prices, now is the time that you're going to actually, and we have seen people asking us, saying, you remember when you were trying to sell Africa to me or get me to go to Africa on a trade mission? I'm listening now. I'm ready now. And this is where, to me, I mean, it's music to our ears. And I think this is where it's really going to take off.
I mean, I totally agree with you, Umar, because, I mean, I do trade missions just like you do. And it's all about reinforcement. But one of the points that you make, and I'd like to reinforce your point, I was in the UK just before Brexit on 31st of December, and also after Brexit. And for decades and decades, it was very, very cheap to buy tomatoes from Spain. But after Brexit, it's actually cheaper to buy tomatoes from Morocco, right? Which of course is an African continent. But this actually shows, and the funny thing is actually the exporters are a collaboration of UAE companies from Morocco. So this actually shows that the world is very dynamic and trade is changing, and you have to look for collaboration. It's collaboration that actually takes you forward, right? It's not this ad hoc, one-time export. Now, taking again, and I'm really cognizant of the fact that I'm running out of time, but I'd like to get Salah Luter's point of view here, because from industry perspective, how has your group, Salah, assisted companies in the sector to support the international positioning? And here, Salah, I have to say that I'm very happy wherever the world I go and I see Al-Islami products. It brings a huge smile to my face. And I look for the day when I can go to my local supermarket in the UK and then see your products there. But meanwhile, what lessons can we learn from and what lessons can Kenyan firms learn from your experience, and how can you create collaboration? Salah?
Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you for the compliment. See, I think what we are doing here with the food and beverage group mainly, it's about really helping these companies to understand the market. here in the UAE. So if we talk about UAE, it's the gate for all the whole region within the GCC and even the Middle East. We know this. And because of our location, because of the infrastructure, and because of the proactive government who we have. And so in terms of what we support the companies to come here, we do a lot of free boards, which represent the latest development in the market. We do a lot of consultancy for these companies to help them understand the market better. And why I said it is different than all the other entity who's doing this, because our hands is in the market. Our group being represented by all the local and the international market who are their hand into the market. So they know the challenges, they know the opportunities, they know how to deal with the market dynamics in day-to-day operations. I think for companies to succeed going forward, it is about knowledge, it's about data analysis, it's about really understanding the markets you want to go to be able to succeed in these markets you want to penetrate. And as I told you, Ashraf, what we do, we are here in Dubai, giving all the support in terms of free boards, in terms of information, in terms of taking them through the journey from thinking, let them sit with the retailer, let them sit with some of the CEOs of the company who operate in UAE to understand the market in a better way than just reading the reports.
Wonderful, and I know you do, and the tremendous value that it adds. I'm been told by the organizers that I need to rush ahead. So I'll ask you a question, Brenda, which is, again, from a very macro level, which is how do you enhance, I mean, you talked about that you're launching 2 products, you're going to put the halal mark. How do you use this to enhance the international positioning of the products? Yeah.
One of the reasons outside my better understanding of what halal actually implies, as Amina had mentioned, my understanding of halal for many years was about slaughtering and the process of that. And now understanding it's about ethics and it's about processes and it's about so many other things. So in regards to how and why, for the first time, we are consistently and trying to get into the Arab, what we call the Arab Africa market, which is Egypt and Libya. And there's so many markets we're looking at. For example, I just sent a sample of my ghee to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. I've never done that before. Send a sample last week to Oman. These are new markets that are coming in. A challenge that we've not had before is people asking for halal certification, because we are the largest dairy in East and Central and Sub-Saharan Africa. So when we say we are the largest, and we've gotten, like I said, the trader understands that we are halal certified. Why? Because I issue my certificate. So the port clears my product, but the consumer also asks, is this halal? So it became a necessity from the feedback received. So like the ghee I sent to Saudi Arabia, I had to send it in DHL with my certificate attached, because that's an older packaging. So in my new packaging, when I incorporate that, the minute the sample arrives on the table of the interested person, they don't have to ask. So it completely, it answers the question that you may ask, is this halal? So for us, that is the main reason, because we're targeting to get it. We have a specific, particular product that is it's gold, if we may call it. In Kenya, it's not utilized. We are not consumers of ghee, which is cow fat, but it's a big product that we discovered over the years in the Arabic community because of the different things that they make with it. So that is the only market we can say that is going to actually push the product. It's a byproduct of milk. So it's something that is produced automatically, whether we consume it in Kenya or not. It's an automatic thing. So we relied on the Indian community in Kenya, who are 1%. And as I grew bigger as an organization, we're getting more ghee, and we needed to find an outlet. So now we found the outlet. It's in Arab Africa, it's in Middle East. So now is when we are very much understanding and interested to make sure that the labeling is incorporated to make life easy for me, because I'm in charge of all those markets. So I don't have to send a certificate. The person doesn't have to keep showing a certificate every time he has to take it to Carrefour in Dubai or Carrefour in any other country in the world. So yeah, so that's the reason.
Wonderful. And,
yes.
and you're certainly correct. It's once you get the certification, it's going to be your passport to the world. I always think that halal certification or halal accreditation is your passport to the world. I mean, we've had a wonderful, wonderful session this morning, and I'm sure we could go on for a lot longer, but I'm instructed by the organizers that I really need to call it a day, and I need to finish this conversation. But I'd like to thank all my panelists. It's been absolutely amazing. I mean, Sheikh Abdul Latif, Omar, Salah, Brenda, thank you very, very much. This has been an amazing, amazing session. And I think it's raised a lot of issues. And I seriously believe that the audience, who are now, I'm told, is well above 500, should actually consult and talk to you directly through the organizers to get more information. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Can we get a second panel session ready, and we'll start straight on?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ashraf. Yes, we will start right in. So we would like to proceed to the second and final panel session of this event, addressing the global Islamic finance industry, growth and innovations through fintech. Dr. Ashraf, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nafali, for yet another wonderful introduction. Now, this is actually a very interesting issue. The global Islamic financial industry, but from a fintech and innovation perspective. In 2019, just before the COVID outbreak, the Islamic finance sector saw double-digit growth of 14%, with about $3 trillion of assets under management. The COVID-19 pandemic has reduced the growth rates to single digits. Nevertheless, the sector is forecasted to be about 3.7 trillion by 2024. Islamic financial institutions are responding to the crisis, both the COVID crisis and also the changes in consumer behavior as a result of fintech, by stepping up their digital services and using Islamic social finance instruments to support those who are struggling as a result of the crisis. The real changer for Islamic finance has been that the clients in a post-pandemic world want the services delivered on a digital platform. In many respects, this started before COVID, but the speed of implementation has taken a new pace in the post-COVID environment. We now see new markets, new subsectors being developed, and this has led to a whole disruptive innovation in the sector and enabled it to develop new mechanisms. The questions that arise from this is, how can Islamic finance be able to capitalize on the innovation and grow the sector? And this forms the basis of today's session. I'm honored and privileged to have a very esteemed and experienced set of panelists. I have Raja Al-Mazuri, Executive Vice President of FinTech Hive Dubai International Financials Authority, Abdullah Al-Khaliq, Managing Director of Gulf African Bank, Muhammad Safiullah Khan, Chief Executive Officer of Darul Sharia, Sanjeev Datta, Executive Director, Commodities and Financial Services, Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, Suhail Zubairi, Senior Advisor, Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, Chidi Oparla, CEO and founder of Asante Financial Services Group. Again, I will not go through the biographies because again, it's very distinguished set of panelists, but they're all available on the Dubai Week in Africa website. And again, I strongly urge you to visit that. Now, I think all of us, when we think about fintech, we think about all those millions, not millions, probably hundreds of thousands of people who have become mega rich in the last few months. So I'd like to jump straight in, head first, and ask my question to Suhail Zubairi, because I want to get this first issue out of the way. Suhail, the question I'd like to ask you is, 10 years ago today, the price of Bitcoin, and of course other cryptocurrencies, was, no, so about 12 years ago, was about 3-5 cents. About 8 years ago, it was about $600, $700. Today, it's $52,000, right? I wish I had invested 12 years ago. But the question I have to ask you is not whether the price of cryptocurrencies will go up or down, but the question that I want to ask you is that cryptocurrency adoption and investment is very low in Muslim countries, as people are still unsure of its compliance with Islamic law. Are such instruments permitted under Islamic law? Let's go straight for it, Suhail.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for inviting me to this esteemed conference by the UAE Trade Center, and congratulations to Mr. Walid Al-Falahi for bringing the top experts from UAE and Africa to share their thoughts on mutually exploring the trade and commerce opportunities together. Also, Dr. Mahathir, thank you very much for taking out the most difficult question from your bag. I will try to respond as best as I can, but you will have to be a little patient, and you can sacrifice my other questions if it takes more than expected time. So we'll need to actually take quite a number of steps back to understand money, for which we do not have enough time in this session. Simply put, emergence of money was preceded by the barter trade. So if you have cows and I have grains, we make an exchange as we agree, which could be spot or which could be deferred, or one consideration could be spot and the other could be deferred, and so on. It is unclear when the barter was replaced by the money, and the stories that we hear about them is actually at best as conjecture, because nobody knows exactly how it started. Fast forward, the dawn of Islam in 7th century AD provided clear guidance on what is money and how it should be used. Islam laid down the principles that gold and silver are to be treated as money and how they should be managed. There is this famous hadith from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the gist of which is that gold should be exchanged with gold on spot and like for like. And similar rule also applies on silver. But if you exchange gold for silver, then it will be as the counterparties agree. So how much gold for how much silver, it depends on counterparties. So as per the hadith, if you exchange gold or silver with a commodity, it will be based on the agreement between the two parties, how much gold for how much commodity and how much silver for how much commodity, and so on. We do not have time to discuss how gold and silver were replaced by the fiat money, but it would be sufficient to say that the Sharia scholars permitted the use of the currencies since these were actually controlled by these respective governments, which guaranteed to pay the value on the currency note itself. And I have kept it ready. If you see this 100 dirham note, and it clearly says that this is the cash currency and its value is guaranteed by the law. So this is something that is, they guaranteed. So that's why the scholars didn't have any qualms about it. Islam conveys that money in itself does not hold any intrinsic value. In other words, if you say it is simply a measure of value and itself not valuable. So simply speaking, money is merely a medium of exchange, and not a commodity or an asset to be traded. Money must first be converted into a commodity or asset if the intention is to trade. So this is very, very important that, the money cannot be a commodity. It does not have the traits to be applied, which you apply on a commodity, but it's simply a medium of exchange. Now, it was important to provide the Islamic perspective on money before coming to the cryptos. Main differences between the traditional money and the cryptos is that cryptos exist purely digitally and are confined to the internet, and they do not have any physical existence as the currencies do. Another difference is that whilst currencies do have support from regulatory monetary authorities, as I just mentioned, central banks, Ministry of Finance, governments, who guarantee their value, we do not find such support with cryptos. And to the best of my knowledge, and respected panelists may correct me here, no central bank or regulatory authorities has so far formally adopted any of the cryptos, be it Bitcoin or any other. However, some countries have allowed it to be accepted as a means of payment. So this far we have gone so far. Now, the Islamic perspective on cryptos, based on a lot of
very quickly, please.
Yeah, based on a lot of research and debate amongst the scholars during the last few years after the emergence of cryptos, and the debate is still going on. It's not yet finished. One view is that cryptos can be considered as a commodity in the sense that it can be stored. It can be stored, albeit in a digital account. The other view is that cryptos are in thin air, since these are not tangibly backed like the currencies do. These are also not officially backed or guaranteed by the monetary regulatory authorities of countries, and hence cannot be considered playing the role in the economy as a fiat money does. Now, the third view is that owing to wild fluctuation, it comes under the category of the excessive risk, and Sharia principles permit taking calculated risks and avoid excessive risks. To understand it better, the total Bitcoin units visible on Ledger during the last 24 hours I just checked were 18.6 million, whereas the number of transactions in the last 24 hours is 318,000, with aggregated value at US dollars 14.8 billion in one day. Interestingly, the average transaction fee is $23, which conveys that US dollars 7.5 million were extracted in one day from the investors only on account of the transaction fee. So do we know who pockets that on a daily basis? And you can multiply it by 365 because it's open to trade all year round. Fourth argument, I'm concluding in a minute. Fourth argument is based on the hadith from Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The gist of it is that the halal is clear and the haram is clear. And between the two of them, there are doubtful matters. Thus, who avoids doubtful matters clears himself in regard to his religion and his honor, and who falls into the doubtful matters will fall into haram. So this is also the fourth argument. The conclusion is that the jury is still out, the Sharia jury, on how and when to allow the Islamic investors who are sitting, a lot of them are sitting at the fence, to jump into the bandwagon.
So Suhail, you haven't answered my question. I don't know whether I can be rich or not. Now I need the justification
I'll
to say why I didn't invest.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to that, Suhail.
So the scholar's predicament can be made easy. The scholar's dilemma can be made easy if the state authorities start giving the crypto same treatment as they did to the fiat money. One window, yeah, there is a one window that you can become rich, Dr. Ashraf. Sharia permissibility is to the extent of the cryptos which are ring fenced, you know, through by the asset portfolio. So with certain headroom. For example, if the value of the asset portfolio is 100, the cryptos can be issued up to 90. So it means it's tangibly backed. So this is correct. But not
we'll come back to that, Suhail.
Right.
We'll come back to that. But thank you very much. So I really got the gist that the jury is out. We don't know, but in doubt, stay out.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And thank you for, I mean, actually that question was prompted. I have had about 16 or 17 people on the live chat asking the same question. So there's a lot of interest in Islamic fintech when it comes to this. But looking at the wider scope of Islamic fintech, Raja, I'd like to ask you if you can lay the landscape of the UAE Islamic fintech sector, and then we'll come back to you, Suhail. Okay, Raja?
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf. Thank you, Dr. Suhail, for the deliberate explanation on the cryptocurrency. And that actually gives me a good starting point, because fintech is not only cryptocurrency. And we have been at the Dubai International Financial Center supporting the development of the fintech agenda. And so far, we don't have any crypto regulations as of yet. We don't operate any crypto exchanges, because it's very specific, as Dr. Suhail said, and we really need to look at what goes behind it. However, we have been able to innovate in other areas related to fintech, and with a special focus on the Islamic fintech, as Dubai Islamic Economic Development Center are our strategic partners in driving the Islamic fintech agenda, as they aim to position Dubai as the capital of Islamic finance. The focus on Islamic innovation and financial services is very important, because all of these technologies are actually disrupting the way finance is being conducted today. We don't necessarily need to go to the banks to start transacting. Today, we have access to applications that go directly from business to customer that serve all of these needs. We have built an ecosystem for supporting this innovation in Dubai specifically, and at the Dubai International Financial Center, to support that with a regulatory framework, first of all, that enables those technologies to go through the required regulation and compliance processes. When it comes specifically to Islamic fintech, we work very closely with the IEDC, Dubai Islamic Economic Development Center, and Dr. Suhail and others to make sure that all of these technologies are also passing the Sharia compliance from that perspective. At the same time, we enable those fintech startups to offer their technologies to financial institutions, to consumers through the ecosystem, to help them grow their customer base. Again, if you look at Dubai, I still like to refer to it as the heart of the world. You connect the whole world through Dubai with an amazing infrastructure, and you can service most of the region out of Dubai. So if you provide access to regulation, innovation, and business opportunities, these startups can easily come and set up in Dubai and service this region. The DIFC also pays attention to the future of finance, as its technology is disrupting the whole financial services sector. So we have a special value proposition for the fintech, whereby we give them subsidized licenses and access to investors. DIFC has a fintech fund that is investing in fintech startups to enable them grow and scale out of the region. We have been noticing trends in Islamic fintech, specifically when it comes to saving schemes, which we call Jam'iyya, and also microfinancing in particular, because most of the Islamic population would be interested in Sharia compliant services, which comes at more also less risk and more competitive rates. We believe there's a huge opportunity in MENA for the Muslim population to actually access those services from Dubai. There are government entities to foster the Islamic fintechs, as I mentioned, the DIEDC and most of the Islamic financial institutions in the region that reach out to the DIFC Fintech Hive to know what type of technologies are available, how can they collaborate, and how can they take them forward. And we also noticed that most fintechs that support institutional trade focus in the area of trade finance. The Islamic fintech in this space are not B2C, but rather are B2B. So we can see also an emergence of trade finance solutions that are specifically Sharia compliant to serve all of the halal trade that you were discussing on the panel before this one, to enable, as one of the panelists said, it's not only about the slaughter, it's the process, it's the transaction, it's a full life cycle, it's a full supply chain that looks in details at all of these elements. So we are aware of the requirements of the future of finance, specifically in Islamic fintech. We've built an ecosystem to serve this community. We are partnering with institutions that support the focus on Islamic and Sharia regulation. And we are hosting more than 270 fintech startups right now in the DIFC, in our co-working space, with a good group of them that are interested in the Sharia compliant financial technology.
Thank you, Waja, for that very comprehensive response. But let me just ask one, I realize you need to leave, but let me just ask one question. You have the Islamic fintech and you have mainstream fintech. Do you see similar patterns between the two in terms of the sectors and the emphasis and the focus areas?
Absolutely. However, the Islamic fintechs in particular are focused on the business to customer, where the Sharia compliance is actually required. When you look at other fintechs, you could be in compliance and anti-money laundering and more sophisticated. However, the Islamic fintech are really focusing on the Sharia compliance requirement that assures the consumers that they are being served in the halal way.
And do you see that Islamic fintech is doing a copy-paste of mainstream fintech, or it's doing something different?
It's definitely different because it has to be very compliant, so it's unique in its requirements. So if they copy and paste, they will miss out that whole thing. So the innovation will happen in different dimensions of the development of this technology.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Abdullah, from a Kenyan perspective, can you lay the landscape as to the Kenyan Islamic fintech sector? Abdullah? Abdullah Abdul Khaliq? Do we have him?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me, Dr. Ashraf?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, Abdullah.
Thank you, and thank you very much for having me here today. I have enjoyed even the previous session that you took us through, and it's really a pleasure to be in this panel. Now, from Kenyan perspective, fintech is more required than even in other areas or other parts of the world, like Dubai itself, because of the technology outlook. Just to give you a perspective of Kenya, is more than 50% of the population lives in the rural areas or in the urban areas, whereby it's not easy for them to access banks or visit, or even for banks to visit them. And therefore, fintech plays a major role. I don't know if you have heard about products here in Kenya like mobile lending, which the population of Kenya is approximately 47 million. Mobile lending platform itself, and all these will become virtual customers, is more than 35 million. So you can imagine the importance of fintech in countries like ours. It allows accessibility to customers in areas where you will not be able to have presence of brick and mortar, and the financial inclusion of our citizens here. If you remove the aspect of mobile lending and the M-Pesa, which I'm sure you must have heard of, it will today it's financial inclusion is about 70 to 80%, but if you just remove that aspect of M-Pesa and mobile lending, we go down to around 30%. So you can imagine the importance of fintech in Kenya.
I mean, that's actually very, very interesting. And I like the idea about M-Pesa. But in terms of the kind of fintech you're seeing, is it more to meet the rural consumer needs? Is it more to bring in social inclusion? And also you mentioned social inclusion at 68%. It's still quite low when you compare it to many other countries. How can Islamic fintech bring it up to 90, 95%?
Yeah, in fact, what we have done, recently we did a survey and looked at, for example, the mobile lending platform that was introduced by one of the largest telecom companies here in Kenya. And in the Muslim dominated areas, the uptake of that product has been very, very low. There are regions in Kenya where the Muslim population is larger than others, and the uptake of that, and it's because of the Sharia aspect missing in those products. And that's also has influenced us to work very closely with this telecom to propose or to introduce a Sharia compliant mobile lending platform so that it can reach out to the people who need it in such areas. So far the fintech that we are seeing around mostly are conventional. They are neither here nor there, like Sister Raja had said earlier, that things to do with AML and other compliance issues, but the Sharia aspect itself had not been addressed, which is what we are now introducing through fintech.
Excellent, excellent. I want to take now the question to a different level. I want to look at more conventional banks. And Mohammed Shafiullah, we have Mohammed Shafiullah on board. I was, as said in my earlier presentation, I was in the UK doing Brexit, and walking down or trying to use banking services in the UK, I feel confused. I feel confused because fintech has allowed many, many new entrants, and they've challenged existing mainstream banks. So if you go now, I mean, there's Monzo, there's many, many fintech-based banks. These new fintech firms have been able to attract young people in significant numbers and build a strong and loyal base. But in the UAE, Mohammed, we have not seen this. Why do you think that is the case? Mohammed?
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen and esteemed panelists. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. At the outset, I wish to take this opportunity to, on behalf of Dar al-Sharia, to thank the organizers of the Dubai Week in Africa for conducting this, this mission, to trade mission, which will help foster bridge gaps, knowledge gaps, and also provide the impetus for boosting bilateral trades and investments. In response to the very pertinent question raised by Dr. Ashraf, the ability of UK fintech players vis-a-vis their UAE counterparts to operate within the same space as their financial or otherwise traditional counterparts, and also to challenge the mainstream financial institutions, we need to analyze this on the background of certain core factors that impact the financial ecosystem. In my opinion, I would definitely provide these into three basic categorizations. The first one being regime. And as Ms. Raja just elucidated, obviously there has been a great amount of work being done in the UAE as such, but we all need to know and also acknowledge that UK was able to embrace the legal and regulatory frameworks at an earlier point of time due to its positioning in the economy as such. Now, under this regime, obviously we need the frameworks, we need the laws and the regulations so that we provide the conducive environment for the fintech players to operate on. And the second important constituent, obviously, which contributes to fintech ecosystem is the constituent of the requirement as such. The requirement of the fintech solution, which is brought to the fore by the fintech entrepreneur or the sponsor, the consumers of this fintech solution, be it the retail space, if it's a B2C model, we also have the SMEs, the corporates, the financial institutions, GREs, governments, and also the potential impact players, which are financial institutions and the governments. Now, and these are the two core aspects which impact the financial ecosystem. The final aspect, obviously, is, which is very much important, providing lifeblood to the fintech disruption, is that of the funding providers, which is the VCs, the angel investors, the private investors, and the public investors. And in addition to that, obviously, the technical resources which the fintech disruption uses in terms of technology providers, academics, and also support from the know-how providers as well. And obviously, the talent pool, which serves this, this industry as such, is also a very key aspect of this. Now, when you do a 360-degree review of what is the environment in UK and what is the current environment in the UAE, obviously there are some gaps to be bridged, but nevertheless, the UAE has taken leaps and bounds steps in this direction to bridge that gap. And we have now a very conducive environment for fintech players to operate in. Nevertheless, having said that, and to directly address your question now, Dr. Ashraf, I see the following factors, playing a key role in stopping these UAE fintech providers in not only collaborating with the banking and finance industry within the UAE, but also challenging them and taking them on in terms of some of the service verticals they operate in. The first important aspect is the lack of awareness and credibility and trust for these fintech offerings. Consumers here in the UAE are not the same as that of the UK. And likewise, every jurisdiction has its own intricacies in terms of how these consumer behaviors are need to be serviced. Secondly, the reluctance of a collaborative mindset between the UAE mainstream financial institutions and the fintech solution providers as well. Because a disruptive technology obviously is a challenge in itself, isn't it? I mean, I think the fintech players need to embrace a more collaborative mindset, and obviously even the local financial institutions need to embrace that. Why? Because then they would be able to tap into what we call as network effects, and use the UAE financial institutions can do well to position themselves as platforms and tap into this, this wonderful science. Thirdly, the UAE banks have been very agile. They have obviously kept their ears to the ground, and they have seen the lessons they have learned from the international counterparts. They have now embraced and adopted digitalization strategies, which they're rolling out from their robust infrastructure, systems, and processes, which are attuned to meet not only legal and regulatory requirements, but also cater to the specific requirements of the customers. The fourth factor, I would say, is obviously the factor of—
And I need to rush you a little bit.
Sure. I'm going to conclude on this very soon, Dr. Ashraf. Thank you. The fourth factor, which is the presumption of the UAE fintech players, overlooking the defined value proposition of their disruption. They need to, I think, take it from a more holistic perspective as to how they are going to position their solution and how that solution is going to disrupt the market. And also, I find the lack of ability to customize the solution and to demonstrate maturity and understanding of the local UAE financial sector, and also, as I mentioned earlier, the local consumer behavior as well. Now, and the last one, obviously, is the ability of UAE banks to provide holistic solutions to their consumers, whereas the fintech players only provide limited single window solutions, and hence there is a requirement to collaborate. So I think all these factors have contributed greatly to the challenge which you just mentioned, and that the local fintech players are not able to compete efficiently with the banking stream players. But I think post-COVID, inshallah, as we proceed, we see a great change and shift in consumer behavior. And although the last estimated absorption rate or adoption rate for fintech was anywhere around 35 to 40%, but recently I'm given to understand from the various cutting edge material I'm reading of data that the fintech adoption rates have gone up to as excess of 60%, and that bridging that gap between UK and the UAE. I think in the near future, I think it augurs well, and it's definitely the one key takeaway from this is to have a very collaborative mindset, not only from the fintech players' perspective, but also from the UAE banking and finance perspective, to have a win-win situation for all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. That's a very comprehensive response. But I also look forward to the day when I get new innovative banks in the UAE. Chidi, I want to ask you from an African perspective, what we see is that Kenya has attracted the third largest amount of fintech funding in 2020 at 16 million, but this is way behind Nigeria at 89 million and South Africa at 38 million. So Chidi, we do have Chidi there, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, wonderful. So the Islamic fintech levels are much, much smaller. How can Kenya increase its share of the fintech investment and channel a larger amount? Increase fintech generally, but a larger amount to Islamic fintech. Chidi?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ashraf, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for this opportunity. Just a slight correction. I think Nigeria was close to $300 million last year. There was even a single transaction, which was about $200 million, the acquisition of Paystack by a US company called Stripe. Now, back to your question, I think that there's so much Kenya can do to position or to drive a lot more investment to the fintech space in Kenya. I think the very first one has to do with the regulatory landscape. I think we will need a lot more dynamism in that area. And I think there is so much more the central bank can actually do in terms of stepping up and expanding and updating the regulatory guidelines to accommodate these new areas that fintech has actually stepped into. If you look at lending, for example, in Kenya, there's no regulation in Kenya. The law only says that if you're not taking deposits, you can lend. But you and I know that very few people can actually invest in businesses where there are no well-understood, well-structured regulatory guidelines. So I think that's one area where the regulators can actually update the current regulation, expand it just to accommodate the innovations that we're currently seeing within the whole fintech ecosystem. And on the back of that is a need for a regulatory sandbox. Again, there's so much to copy from markets like UAE and perhaps Singapore in terms of specific steps that they've taken to support the development of the fintech ecosystem. And so there's always need for a regulatory sandbox, okay, which is actually what you call a safe zone, where new fintech ventures can actually go. They're exposed to certain APIs and given some cover by the regulator so that they can actually test the innovations that they've come up with. So that is important, and that can actually help support the development of this area. The third would be around tax, okay, having the right incentives to encourage people to invest, to encourage innovations in this particular area. And there's just so much that can be done in that regard. The fourth is Kenya has to do a lot to become a magnet for talent. The whole thing about innovation is about talent, okay? Talents around technology, around finance, and the only way to be able to attract people to come up with these ideas, because every fintech venture needs to be supported by a bunch of engineers, a bunch of data scientists, a bunch of really smart people. And if we're not able to develop and groom these talents locally, and in addition to developing and grooming, being able to attract them from other markets, it will be very difficult for the Kenyan environment to sustain a rapidly growing fintech industry. And this is critical. In terms of Islamic fintech, I think one big piece of work around this area is how to better position Kenya as the Islamic fintech hub, not only for the country, but for the East African region. Let me just throw some statistics. Kenya alone has 11% of the population are Muslims. So that's close to 7 million people, okay? But in addition to that, 25% of the population of Kenya are made up of young folk between the ages of 15 and 35. So you have a sufficient bunch of digital natives that can sustain a rapidly growing Islamic fintech ecosystem. But very few people know this. And so there is need to position this opportunity and sell it, package it and sell it, not just to the very smart folks in the country, but also people outside to come and innovate around the Islamic fintech area. And there is just so much to be done in this whole area. And also have at the back of let's have at the back of our minds the fact that Islamic finance is not only for Muslims. It also appeals to non-Muslims, because this is all about values, okay, about principles, which Islamic finance represents. And if we are to appeal to the generation that we have today, the only way to reach out to them is through Islamic fintech. And so there's just so much that can be done in this area. We're surrounded by countries like Somalia, Sudan, that have predominantly large Islamic populations, and even countries like Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, even though it's not majority, but they also have sizable population. And so Kenya can actually position to become a hub of Islamic fintech, not just for the country, but for the entire region. And so this space it remains untouched. Even the traditional Islamic finance penetration in Kenya is tiny. We've actually not started. And I think one of the reasons is because the population is predominantly young, and to be able to reach them, digital has to be the main platform to extend Islamic finance to them in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chidi. I want to go back to one of the points that you raised, but take it up with Abdullah, which is Islamic finance is one of the key areas that has been identified, Abdullah, by the Kenyan government to help put the country head and shoulders above its peers within the region. What initiatives have been carried out so far? Abdullah?
Yeah, thank you again, Dr. Ashraf. Yeah, there are several initiatives that have been taken, although we also believe there is more. As Mr. Chidi said, we are just scratching the surface, but yes, we are way ahead of our neighbors, the regional countries. A task force has already been formed, which comprises of participants from the Nairobi Stock Exchange, from the Central Bank of Kenya, from the Ministry of Finance, and also market practitioners to come up with recommendations to the government. There are still some teething problems. Even though we are ahead of others, we have our own challenges. The Banking Act, which is a parliamentary act, has not been changed to accommodate Islamic bank or banking fully in it, although the central bank has been very, very supportive and has the authority to approve on case-by-case basis. To show you that Islamic banking is gaining momentum in Kenya, is we already have 3 fully fledged Islamic banks, including Dubai Islamic banks, which moved in recently. We have a couple of windows within conventional banks that are operating as Islamic bank. Ourselves, Gulf African Bank, when we joined this industry, in Kenya. We were the first Islamic bank to start in 2008. At the time, there were at least 42, 43 other banks operating already in Kenya, conventional banks. So it was already a very crowded market in terms of banking industry. But we managed to break even within the first 2 years of operations, which is remarkable for any standards. Don't you think, Dr. Ashraf? Listen.
But
yeah,
I mean,
it's the acceptance by the people, the population, and again, as Mr. Chidi said, we have never marketed ourselves only as a bank for Muslims. We have marketed it as a concept, which to appeal, which is appealing to others also. And even as we speak today, we have a sizable number of customers who belong to different faiths. But they are our members and customers of the bank.
Yes, I mean, that certainly makes sense. And that also relates very nicely to the previous session that we had. Now, moving on, one of the aspects is, I'll just ask, is Sanjeev still there? Sanjeev? Okay.
I'm right here, back here.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you very much. I realize you're trying to shuffle between different things. It's a very difficult period. Sanjeev, the DMCC, the largest free zone in the world, right? What innovation have we seen in terms of Islamic fintech and commodity trading?
Now, I mean, typically, again, a good afternoon to all my fellow panelists, and some of whom I've worked with very closely over the last several years. Well, the answer to that, one of the examples would be the TradeFlow platform, which definitely is a leading Islamic fintech innovation. And, we've been glad to work with, Saifullah as well as Sohail Saab on this in their capacities as, Dar al-Sharia. That's been inseparable in terms of contribution. So we were established in about 2004, and it is a unique platform launched to address a gap in the regional trade finance market. And it has witnessed, albeit slow, but a year-on-year increase in transactions. Now, typically, flexible and customized online platforms such as these, they enable registration, they enable register the possession and ownership of commodities stored in UAE-based facilities, which are also rated by our internationally recognized and rewarded warehouse inspection and rating program. But across this online environment, titles of stored commodities can be transferred and or pledged within a robust legal and Sharia compliant framework. So the uniqueness is in the fact that the commodity receipt platform fills a key gap in trade in the MENA region by offering enforceable collateral-based trade finance solutions for all participants in the value chain. So typically it's a complete ecosystem of not only the platform, but the financiers, the warehouse keepers, as well as the commodity suppliers. So now blockchain is a very important word in today's world of digitalization and innovation. Of course, both these words are very important for DMCC strategy as well. Typically our relationship starts with our members the day they have become members, and it does not end the day they've got their licenses. So typically this platform has been a constant, link with those two key words, which are part of our strategy. Now, the platform currently covers a broad range of commodities, such as precious metals, steel, oil, and soft commodities, enabling efficient and transparent trade. Now, it has proved to be an important center for commodity murabba transactions as well, which enables Islamic financial institutions to manage their liquidity through the purchase and sale of physical commodities, of course, at pre-agreed profit rates over a deferred period, supporting the UAE-based assets that comply with Sharia compliance criteria. And these assets include not only cables, but also food security, so food items from the food security, Abu Dhabi, etc. So it's a complete ecosystem that you're building. You're trying to marry fintech with commodity trading. Last but not the least, obviously, our Salam financial mechanism is another way buyers can purchase commodities of a specific quality and quantity, in the future in exchange for payment at an agreed rate. So if you look at the platform, in these 15, 16 years that it's sort of grown from a commodity receipt to a multi-commodity receipt to now a trade finance platform, and of course a perfect answer to the LME receipts and the Bourse of Malaysia receipts. We've recorded transactions valued at over $200 billion, which is clearly more than double of last year. Now, the value in terms of transactions for Islamic products, it rose by almost 130% year on year. And we've got new members, over 100. So overall, you see, the story is to tell that, we are completely driving, paperless, auditable, recorded transactions in this scheme. And of course, geographically, we are extending as far as Malaysia now. So immensely proud that, our region has this value proposition. As a matter of fact, when you talk about the Kenyan market, which I was listening to previously, we're working very closely with the Konza development to see how we can share this knowledge, and help them up and running very quickly. So thanks, Doctor.
Sanjeev, you mentioned you touched on the aspect of regulation.
Yeah.
I'll just go back to you on that. Do you believe that regulation has been an obstacle to increase Islamic fintech? And if so, how? And if you think regulation is not a problem, then how has the absence given security to investors and customers? Because regulation is that careful box, isn't it? You need it, but you don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, in anything that we do as human beings, there's regulation, right? So it all depends as parents, whether we over-regulate or under-regulate our children. So there, the word regulation assumes the term of discipline. So I think discipline in anything that we do is very necessary. Now, regulation typically has never been and will never be an obstacle if it is used in the right measure, So if you under-regulate, obviously, there's an issue with compliance and reliability because you're dealing with third-party information, you're dealing with an ecosystem. And over-regulation, on the other hand, could be extremely high. So it depends on a risk assessment, for example. How much are you going to spend on a control which carries a risk? So it's really an assessment and a check and balance. Now, in the UAE, regulations are there in place, and our visionary leadership also has a view in terms of revisiting regulations as and when necessary. And we've seen that over the last 12 to 15 months, and the latest being, change in citizenship rules, etc. So I think change is the only constant, and if you have to remain relevant, you have to change. So regulations should not be seen as deterring anything that we need to do, but encouraging us in every aspect. So regulation, again, in the UAE is always subject to upgrade. As I said, people are willing to listen, and there are institutions such as the DIA, DC, which gather information for the decision makers, to make the right regulation choices. So one example is, you would have seen a month ago, the federal gold database, which was announced by the ministry, it basically regulates the movement of gold in and out of the country. So I think regulation throws up opportunities as well as challenges, which again throw up the need to upgrade those regulations. So in no way should regulation be seen as an obstacle. And to answer your question, I think it's not a problem. It's never been absent, but some places where it's been lacking, obviously, it's always been upgraded. There's been a timely call to ensure that the security to investors and customers remains. So yes, the trade flow platform again is another example where you are financing transactions, you are going to warehouses, and in order to ensure that you don't have frauds, which we've seen in the past in similar industries, we've seen that the trade flow warrant has always remained enforceable. And of course, the decree that DMCC has issued has been issued for DMCC in terms of a revision only further underlines every regulatory aspect. But again, we've seen in the past past panels, regulation Standardization is only there to enhance trade and remove trade barriers. We should always see these attributes in positive sense as opposed to seeing them as impediments. Doctor.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev. I'd like to bring Suhail back in on two counts, Suhail. Firstly, I mean, this whole idea about regulation, and from an Islamic perspective, Suhail, when you have all these unknowns, you know, I want to bring the issue back on crypto, whether the jury is still out on crypto. Does that make Islamic fintech more difficult? And then we don't know about blockchain. I mean, you know, what's the view on blockchain? So really, as an advisor to the Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, can you tell us about first how these new innovations impose a restriction because we're not sure about their acceptability in Islam? In other words, technology is moving much faster than our understanding of it and the Sharia understanding of it. And secondly, what do you see more specifically as the areas that are still available to be explored in fintech by Islamic institutions? Suhail? Do we still have Suhail?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just unmuting my mic. First of all,
Can you be a little bit louder, Suhail?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is it clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the regulations, you see, always Sharia has been pro-business. And we have seen when Islamic banking started in 1975, it was emulated, and now we see Islamic banking. Dubai actually has the privilege or the honor to give the world a new financial system through the starting of the Dubai Islamic Bank in 1975, my ex-bank. Now, also look at Sukuk. In 2002, we saw the first ever Sukuk coming up. Nobody knew what is Sukuk. So Sukuk was also, adopted and loved and promoted. And now we see fintech. Now, the whole thing is that Sharia has never been on the way of business except if it is crossing the Sharia boundaries. So if, for example, if any product or any transaction is actually, compromising on the Sharia principle, definitely you cannot approve that. And the Sharia scholars, obviously, there was a sukuk brought on by a big US bank a few years ago, and it was a Murabaha-based sukuk which was listed in Irish Stock Exchange, and the scholars did not approve it because how can a debt be traded? So it was actually compromising on the main Sharia principle of debt cannot be traded. No discounting, no factoring, no forfeiting. So how this sukuk was, if it was a privately placed sukuk, fine. But you cannot have a Murabaha sukuk and also list it for trading, because debt cannot be traded. So this is something, an example of where the Sharia boundaries are there. And this is the reason for the resilience of the Islamic banking and finance. If you have seen in the last financial crisis, none of the Islamic banks collapsed compared to the conventional counterparts who collapsed in thousands in a number. So if we let loose of these values, then we will be same like conventional financial world wherein everything is allowed. And you can do CODs, and you can do discounting, and you can do multiple discounting, and then a time will come that this will fall like house of cards. So this is something that I wanted to clarify, that Sharia is ahead of the common law or the civil law always. There is a process we have seen, and our Dr. Hussain Hamid Hassan, Allah yarhamhu, who passed away last August, he did a comparative study of the way back when he was in New York in 60s, comparative, and this was a doctorate for him, about the religions and the law. And he proved that Sharia is always ahead, and the other laws follow Sharia principles. They try to come closer. And example is the inheritance law, for example. In Christianity and other religions, inheritance law was not there. And now in 1925, I believe UK allowed the wife to inherit from husband, because before it was not allowed because she was not the blood relation. So this was something that, another example. Now, coming to the fintech regulations, we have been mentoring the Islamic fintech for the last 4 years. This will be the 5th year we'll be doing it for Fintech Hive. We have a strategic partnership with them, as Raja said. Initially, we saw that the interest amongst the startups about the Islamic fintech wasn't there. We came up with the idea that before the start of the mentoring cycle, we would hold Islamic finance workshop for them, for all of them. And when we started doing that, the interest in the Islamic fintech grew a lot. And those startups, who never considered Islamic finance, they came to us and they said, we would like to include an element of Islamic fintech into our product. Reason being that we explained to them that if you come up with an Islamic product, you will have 100% of the attention, because the conventional and Islamic will both, buy in for that. But if you only are releasing a product which is conventionally based, then obviously Islamic investors or Islamic customers you will not come to you. So this worked very well. So far we have mentored about over 35 startups for Islamic fintech. So regulation has never been a problem. So long as the product is Sharia compliant, the structure is Sharia compliant, and the execution is Sharia compliant, documentation is Sharia compliant, we do issue some kind of certificate, but it is not a fatwa. We simply say that based on our assessment, this particular product is compliant to Sharia principles, but however, this is not a fatwa. It is basically our opinion, being a center of Islamic economy, and you are recommended to approach any Sharia scholars to get the proper fatwa from them. Couple of other points. Everything is not hunky-dory in Islamic fintech. We saw, if you remember, if you know, Withaq came up with a very good product for digitizing the sukuk issuance. But unfortunately, we mentored them also here last year. Unfortunately, they have not been able to find any buyers so far. They went to the local issuers. I personally introduced them to a couple of them. And then I also introduced them to Malta. Now, Malta has basically taken upon itself to declare itself as the digital island, and they call it the center of the sort of digitization. They have also come up with some regulations for digitization and fintech and all. They actually, last news was that they were interested and they were considering to issue first sukuk from Malta based on the Withaq platform. So this is a good news. We'll see how it goes. So this is in a nutshell, to clarify that regulations have never been any sort of hurdle for the growth of the Islamic fintechs. Dr. Ashraf.
Thank you very much, Sohail. Actually, for me, it's very new to realize that Sharia law is ahead of all other laws, right? I mean, we normally consider that Sharia law is a lagging factor. And I think what this particular session has brought out, the diversity of Islamic fintech that's taking place, the breadth, depth, and thrust of how this is actually shaping the future direction of business. It's extremely impressive how Islamic fintech is making inroads both in the UAE and also in Africa. I think this has been an amazing panel session. I think what we have to do is come back together again. I think, Walid, you have to do another session because there are many unexplored issues. I mean, I wanted to talk more about cryptocurrencies, as you know, because since we spoke about 50 minutes ago, we've had about 7 new questions. It seems to be the big thing. We don't have time to deal with it now, so we will conclude. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all my panelists who have been absolutely amazing. It's been a wonderful insight. I'll now hand you back over to our wonderful MC, Nafeli. Back over to you. Nafeli?
Thank you. We would like to thank our panelists and the moderator for all the valuable and very informative discussions. As we move on, may I invite Mr. Walid Harib Al-Falahi, CEO of the UAE Trade Center, for his closing remarks.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I hope, if possible, that all the speakers can turn their video, if possible. I don't know if it's possible or... ladies, gentlemen.
I think some of them are also on other calls, Walid.
Okay. Dr. Ashraf, I would like just to start to say thank you very much. You developed a very, very good moderating. I really appreciate your support. But I think in order for us to start, what we accomplished together, it's in 4 days, we're able to attract 4,099 attendees. That's proved the importance and the power of Africa. That proves that Africans are thirsty for knowledge, thirsty for connectivity, thirsty for doing business. Dubai as a brand name in Africa, there is a good level of interest in Dubai. I think also I have to admit choosing Kenya was a great choice. Kenya represent, we look at it like Kenya is Dubai of East Africa, and Kenya is the Middle East of in Dubai. So I feel that I would like to start by thanking all dignitaries and esteemed panelists from Dubai and Kenya who made it happen over the 4 days. But in today, I would like to thank our partners, specifically the Dubai exports. I would like to thank also our sponsors, today Dar al-Sharia, who went extra mile to support us, and Dubai Islamic Bank, DMCC for their support, and they are such a partner that we see future opportunities in the future to work together on more projects. Also, Dubai Islamic Economy Center, thank you for taking this forward and supporting this initiative. And definitely, we are working together to create Dubai as a center for Islamic economy in the region. Also, I would like to express my gratitude to His Excellency Abdullah Bilhif Al-Nuaimi, our Minister of Environment, and also Honorable Peter Munya for that remarkable keynote. And thank you to our Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center again for their support. A big thank to all the attendees who supported us over the 4 days. And my heart thank for all the partners, sponsors, speakers for making this a big success. We see you again in the next series. We are planning to do our next series in Uganda in May. And also we are planning to do our next event in September, 1 month before the big event, which is the Dubai Expo 2021. Appreciate your support and look forward to see you in a successful event like this in the future. Thank you very much, everybody, and wish you great success in the future. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Walid.
Thank you, brothers.
Pleasure. And
thank you, Brother Suhail. I'm really thankful for your support. Thank you. I really appreciate it, sir. Appreciate it. And we would love to sit down again and discuss more detail how to take this forward as well.
Sure.
Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you, Muhammad. Shukran, Dr. Muhammad. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for your support. We need to push, huh? Saad Abdullah, we are really thankful, and we need to sit down again to see how can we bring Islamic banking between UAE and Kenya in a closer way, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. Shukran.
Thank you for your support. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Have a nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Mr. Walid. Thank you, everyone. Today, as we end our event, Dubai Week in Africa, I would like Thank you, Mr. Walid. Thank you, everyone. Today, as we end our event, Dubai Week in Africa, I would like to thank today's partner, Dubai Islamic Development Center. These 4 days will hopefully provide more opportunities for the United Arab Emirates and Kenya to work together and build a stronger relationship during these challenging times. This event wouldn't have been a success without all our distinguished guest speakers, panelists, moderators, partners, and to all of you, our beloved participants, who joined us on this 4-day journey. Thank you. Let's use this event to bridge and create more business opportunities. Good day, and we look forward to seeing you for the next series of Dubai Week in Africa.